into the chat. First, we're going to hear from our sponsor, Ken Martin, who runs the CIT business here in Portsmouth. And then we'll hear from the mayor. The mayor has to leave us shortly after that. So we'll do a Q&A with the mayor. And then we'll bring on City Manager Karen Conard, and we'll do a Q&A after that as well. So here we go. First of all, Ken Martin from CIT. Thank you so much for being our sponsor, Ken.
Thank you, and good morning. I just start by saying CIT is extremely proud to partner with the Chamber this morning. We really believe being an active community player is critical to our firm's success, and I think more importantly, the folks who work for us. Just spend a couple minutes on what we're seeing. I thought it'd be helpful to give you a little insight as to what our business is seeing. We're 275 folks in Portsmouth, focused on providing small ticket leasing to small business owners, small to mid-sized business owners really throughout the country. And would just say, certainly like everybody, last year was probably the most challenging year. Certainly the business has seen since its inception. Overall leasing volume down substantially, not different than virtually every other major kind of financial player in the marketplace. But a lot of good things happening, and that's what I wanted to focus a few of my comments. Through the first 4.5 months, we're up 40 to 50%. We are well above what our projected plan was, and really the plan is to try to get back to what was a highly successful 2019. So we're trying to strive back to the 19 days. What are we hearing from business owners? And our business really is across the country. We do a lot of business in Texas, Florida, California, New York, the states you'd expect, but really throughout most of the 50 states. And I'm really pleased to report that the business owners are telling us, look, finally glad the election's behind us. That was a real topic that had people distracted around making business decisions around what the future might look like from the political landscape. They also feel that not the pandemic is done, but in our conversations with these business owners, they are spending most of their time talking about tremendous growth opportunities that they have and how they're looking to grow their business. Where, 5 months ago, 8 months ago, all the dialogue was around how they're dealing with the pandemic, the work from home, what's impacted them. So very little dialogue focused on pandemic, very little dialogue focused on the election. All of the dialogue focusing on them growing in the marketplace. Another sign I would give you about what we're seeing from an economic standpoint, like most banks, we had a significant population of customers that we needed to provide deferrals to. These are people who were struggling during the pandemic. Their revenues have dropped significantly. Their cash positions were down. They went to their banks. We provided 3 months or 6 months in a deferral on their payments. And I'm really pleased to report that the portfolio has performed fantastic. What do I mean? Of the population that we provided deferrals to, over 95% of them have gotten back on track of making 6 prompt payments. Our overall delinquency levels and charge-off levels, which we had expected going into the year, have dropped significantly. So what that says to me is people really did leverage the PPP program that we've all heard about from the government. That was really a big boost. That, along with the combination, I think, in our case, of our deferral plan, really gave people the ammunition and ability to come back and fight for another day. The last piece I would just focus on, what are we hearing now today as the biggest challenge in the small business community? And probably not surprisingly, right? If you look to buy a house today, if you look out there and you're trying to build a home, you're trying to get work done, or you're trying to buy a car, supply of product is their number one issue today. And it's putting pressure on lenders like ourselves. So when there is a product available, whoever can get the money out the fastest, because there's 5 people waiting in line to buy it. So what we're seeing and what we're hearing from them, that continued supply chain challenge, and we believe it'll be with us for a while. That's number one. And number two, the help, staff. Where can we find staff? How do we retain staff? We're seeing many of them speak to some of the lower wage players on their teams, who certainly the government assistance has provided a bit of a challenge. But 2 major areas of concern that we're hearing from our client base: product availability and finding staff. Those are the two things that I think as we move forward throughout the year will be the bigger challenges. In closing, I would just thank the Chamber for the opportunity. Would take the opportunity to also say we're hiring. We're 275 strong. We're looking to hire, good talented salespeople, operations people. We've been working very closely with UNH around sourcing talent. We got a lot of graduates there, but if we're any sign of what's going on in the economy, and certainly here in Portsmouth, we're excited about the fact that we're able to offer some really good opportunities for folks, and excited when many of our employees are buying homes, having children. So really looking to prosper in the economy. Thanks again, and really look forward to today's program.
Thanks so much, Ken. Totally appreciate you being here and really appreciate your sponsorship. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next up, we're going to bring in Mayor Beckstead. Mayor Rick Beckstead was elected mayor in Portsmouth in November of 2019. He first served on the City Council in 2017 as representative on the Citywide Neighborhood Committee, the Peace Development Authority, the Rockingham Planning Commission, and the Recreation Board, of which he was a member for 4 years. He served on the Portsmouth Little League Board of Directors for 6 years and coached and managed both youth baseball and football. His children attend Portsmouth Public Schools. He's a virtually lifelong resident of Portsmouth, 38 of 50 years. Rick is self-employed contractor with a special love for historic buildings. And he's got a full plate today of like his real job work. And so we're gonna lose him after the Q&A, unfortunately. So Mayor, take it away, please.
Thank you, Valerie. And I'd like to thank the sponsor and the Chamber of Commerce for all that you do. As far as what I wanted to go and say for this last year during the state of the city, we didn't know what the year was going to bring. The governor had just shifted to the stay-at-home order 2. Almost everything was closed. Restaurants were making a living with take orders. We were ringing bells every Friday and thanking our healthcare workers and responders. I had just started the Clipper Strong Fund to make sure that small businesses wouldn't fall through the crack. Then over the summer months, we showed what Portsmouth was made of, what makes Clipper strong. In June, the City Council created a citizen task force. We sent barriers out so restaurants could expand their seats into the streets. We created a stage over at the Bridge Street lot for performances. We opened the outdoor pool for residents. We passed last year a conservative budget that kept all of our essential businesses and all of our employees. It was a difficult time for everybody, not knowing where we were going to be and what we were going to be doing. We didn't know how long this was going to last. And today I'm here to tell you that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But I want to go and grasp onto some of the things that we've learned over this past year to do things better. Relationships are key. And we've been able to go, myself, to be able to build relationships, which I never thought would, in my role, and being a simple-minded building contractor, to be working with 12 mayors. There's actually a group called the Mayors of the Round Table that exceeds 13 cities throughout the state of New Hampshire. And I've been able to go and build relationships with all 12 of them. We've worked diligently through the legislative committee sessions starting in November of last year and worked collaboratively. We've been able to go and share information and ideas, cautions and concerns to be able to share with all of our communities and work together. I never thought I would be working with congressmen, senators, or even a governor. Again, simple-minded, raised here in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I did what I had to do. I learned, still learning as we go along. And this year, strategically, we are going to do more than we've ever done in Portsmouth before. We've already gone in, I accepted that we're going to be doing the fireworks that are going to be in July. The city council Monday actually just went back into our chambers for the first time in person. In June, the rest of our boards, in hopes with the rate of this vaccine, we will be able to go and allow, hopefully, residents back in place. Normal times is what we're all hoping for. We were very fortunate to be able to go and receive a large amount of money from the American Rescue Plan. This is something that I had gone and worked with the senators throughout the year to be able to go and pass on at what the city of Portsmouth was going to need, revenue losses, and how we could use money to be able to help and bounce back from this terrible times that we've had. We're in the procedure right now of actually building a skate park for kids, something I've wanted from the age of 12 years old here in Portsmouth. And I'm proud of what we've gone and we've done. I created the Mayor's Blue Ribbon, not just a task force, but a reopening, which actually has been more successful than I ever dreamed. I also started the Arts and Nonprofit, which is something that has far exceeded my expectations, and I believe is organically becoming a arts and cultural committee, something that we used to have that was then taken by a nonprofit, and I would like to be able to go and return it. These organizations and nonprofits that make up Portsmouth are vital to our community. Without them, there wouldn't be a Portsmouth. So for me, the first time mayor, I was proud of what Portsmouth has done to get to this point. I would like to thank the chamber, the businesses, and the resources provided, the city manager, the staff, and the services to help make this happen. And I'll close in the same way that I have closed for the last year with most every city council meeting. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Stay safe, Portsmouth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. It has been a year. It has definitely been a year. I don't, there's so many words we could just describe it, but a year pretty much works. Ben, do we have questions in the chat?
We do not actually have any questions on the chat for the mayor.
So I have a question, Mayor. We're coming out of a pandemic, and we're looking forward. What's the thing that you see coming for Portsmouth in the next couple of years that you are most excited about, that you want to work on, that you are just, that's a positive thing as we come out of the pandemic?
I've been looking for anything positive. I mean, as we went through the holidays, to be able to go and give a little bit of sense of normalcy, we took advantage of the tree in the center of town that not only did we have for Christmas, but we ended up having for Valentine's Day, and we took part in St. Patty's Day as well. But one of the things that has gone and really opened is our way of thinking when it comes to the restaurants and the way they've gone in expanding to be able to do outdoor. I know more people are excited than ever before about that. And it's something that we're going to have to look at, because not only is that a policy change, but that's going to actually be a legislative change. That's going to be something important when it comes towards the end of this year, when the next legislative opens. I've been asking about that. We've been able to take advantage of it because the governor has done an executive order to expand and not have limitations. And that's a conversation we're going to have with our legislation to make that more of a permanent basis. We've got a lot of things that we're looking at. We've got to be able to go and try and create another revenue stream. I'm working with a couple of representatives already, and the sessions still aren't closed in the Senate, but I'm in hopes of being able to go and try and bring a few bills forward for communities to be able to go and expand their revenue levels.
Awesome. I know the restaurants will be thrilled if they can keep their additional seating. And what it does for the downtown is just we were already a vibrant community, but this just expands it exponentially. It's fabulous. So thank you. I think I did see some other questions coming in. Ben, shall I turn it over to you?
Yes, there was just a question from Russ Grazier, who we all know and love, who asked, what are the top 3 priorities for the ARP funds that the city received?
Well, I think community-based is going to be one of the #1 things when it comes to that funding. There are guidelines and limitations that we can do. To my understanding and what I've read so far, It isn't something necessarily that's going to slip into budget and line items. We're doing a budget right now, and we have something called an unassigned fund balance, is the way I'm kind of looking at. One-time expenditures is usually a rule that goes into, and staff has worked diligently, and we have not, as a council, been able to go and see exactly what some of their recommendations are. I know the council is excited with some recommendations. We've actually had closed now for well over a year, Spinnaker Point, which is our adult physical facility. They have a deteriorating, very old and surpassed HVAC system. We're in hopes of being able to go and do that. I had mentioned a skate park and a community park is something we're also looking at going and expanding. Still learning about the limitations that are in there, but I know that we don't have to spend it all in 1 year, so we need to think long and hard at where we're going to be spending that money, and we do have time. It isn't something we have to have spent by the end of the year. So I'd like to be able to do what we've been doing all along this year, is to think smart about things and strategically make those changes, make it count. We're only going to get this one time, so we need to be able to make sure and do it right.
That's the only question in the chat.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for being here. I know you've got a busy day ahead, so we'll hope that you'll stay around for as long as you are able, but we will continue on. So thank you for your time. And it looks like you got a great sunshiny day over there. So have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Bye-bye. Next up, well, I just want to welcome Senator Perkins Quokka has joined us. Thank you, Senator, for jumping in here. Great to see you with us. Also want to remind you that we are recording and there is press on the line on the Zoom call with us. So just be aware, that's all. I would like to introduce City Manager Karen Conard. She has served as City Manager since December 2019 as Chief Administrative Officer, I need more coffee. She oversees more than 800 full-time employees and a $119 million municipal budget. Karen brings 30 years of experience in the public sector and a unique network of connections and relationships to her current position. She became a proud resident of the city during the pandemic, is married and the mother of 3 young adults, 2 of whom just celebrated their college graduations, all within a week of each other. So that's awesome. Welcome, Karen. Great to have you here.
Valerie, thank you. And thank you everyone for joining in this morning. And, you know, a lot has happened in a year. I've gotten to know so many of you. I know many of these names. It's so nice. I've even been able to, been lucky enough to call some of you friends. And for those of you I haven't met, I'm Karen Conard. I'm the city manager. I've dropped the word new in front of my title. I'm proud for that. And as Valerie suggested, there's been a few personal highlights this year. In addition to moving here and buying a home, I bought my midlife crisis car, which is actually a moped, and I've joined a scooter gang. So if anyone is interested in being part of that scooter gang, you know where to reach me. I've just gotten a pay raise because my 2 youngest daughters have graduated from college. And so that's just on the side because there was a job to do, and I'm happy to share with you today some of the professional highlights. So Ben, let's get on with the show. So that is a really big boat. And Ben, if you want to advance to the next slide, I'll jump right in. So as we all know, I don't want to dwell on too much of the negativity. There's so much in the way of positive to stress, but as you all know, stay at home 2.0 did succeed in flattening the curve last summer, but we did see a surge in the fall and winter of this stressful and surreal pandemic season. On the left, the New Hampshire COVID cases show in blue, and these charts are as accurate as probably Monday or Tuesday, knowing my wonderful colleague, Stephanie. So the New Hampshire COVID cases are shown in blue on the left, and Rockingham County cases are shown in orange. And on the right, New Hampshire hospitalizations each week are shown in blue, and cases reported in Portsmouth are in orange. As the mayor suggested, we were all impacted in different ways, and we all sought ways to help mitigate the impacts. Some were successful, some weren't. Some of us leaned on each other in ways we never could have imagined. But all of us, particularly folks at City Hall and in every city department, along with businesses, residents, and service organizations, were able to find a way to yes. Next slide, Ben. So where are we now? You're all familiar with the city's mask mandate that is still on the books and will stay on the books through June 30th. This is our chart. It's really quite encouraging. This chart is as of this week. So you can see by the different age groups how folks are taking advantage of the vaccination clinics. Next up will be the population between 12 and 15. That's the next focus for our health department. A quick moment about our 3 health department staff and the men and women of the fire department. Unbelievable colleagues, unbelievable resources to the community. The groups work together to hold vaccination clinics for the housing authority, for long-term care facilities and their staff, for the shelters, for housebound persons and underserved communities, not just Portsmouth, because as they recognize, the whole region needs to be healthy. So as of, I believe, the end of this week, we will have fully vaccinated 2,500 individuals. The senior center, which opened in the fall, has been a huge support for our seniors over 65 with having difficulty accessing information about first testing and then the vaccine. And we've held clinics for the school staff and the high school students, and now we're on to the middle school students. In terms of budgeting, we'll speak to this a little bit later, but we've continued to make prudent choices on holding expenditures without laying off any employees, which we're very proud of. We're also extremely proud of revenues largely staying on track. And most recently in April, we were able to affirm our AAA bond rating. Next slide, Ben. So we're excited to announce that we're dropping our more rigid appointment-only status here at City Hall starting on Monday. As the mayor mentioned, we had our first live in-person city council meeting this week, and boards and commissions will hop back into in-person meetings with the public and the staff participating by Zoom starting in June. Although I believe the school board will meet here next Tuesday, and I know they're very excited to meet in person as well. It's such a different feeling to meet in person. We've been, I think there are 35 night meetings in the month of May, many of them attributed to the FY22 budget process, which we hope to wrap up in early June. The mayor mentioned the $12.88 million we anticipate receiving from the federal government for use in the buckets of public health, water, sewer, broadband infrastructure, and in ways that would soften the blow from any loss in revenue. So we're busy planning for that. We're busy absorbing and understanding the guidance that's coming out. And all the while we are following the governor's universal best practices for a variety of different aspects of what we need to do on a day-to-day basis. Next slide, Ben. This chart won't stay up there for long. It's really just meant to show you that if traffic right in front of the chamber is any indication, we are seeing traffic flow and traffic volume back up to 85% of pre-COVID levels, and that's really encouraging. Obviously, you know when that dip occurred last year, and we're on the way back, and we anticipate another fabulous summer here. Next slide. A quick walk down memory lane for 2020. As the mayor mentioned, the Citizen Response Task Force got up and running in June. By the time late July rolled around, we had permitted 29 restaurants for outdoor dining. Fun fact, it took the city of Baltimore 3 months to figure that out. The mayor did not take credit for the fact that he built the stage that was at the Bridge Street pop-up. And that was a wonderful community effort that brought many people out who otherwise wouldn't feel safe coming out. And for many, it was their first time venturing out of the house. So it was great to provide that. We also enjoyed the music halls under the arch, the Live Under the Arch series, and you see that picture in the bottom center. And it is in utilizing the Clipper Strong Relief Fund. We collected $57,000 in donations. We delivered 200 Clipper Strong care bags. We made $500 mini grants to 19 businesses. And we distributed close to 600 shop local masks. You may have seen them with the steeple or the whale. Slide. So on to 2021. What does this year's outdoor dining scene show? It will be another summer in the street, so to speak. And we're proud to say that with the coordination with Pro Portsmouth, the Summer in the Street series will be back in July with 4 Saturdays of music starting July 10th. On the sort of top left is one of our brand new entries for outdoor dining. So in contrast to the 29 that were permitted last year, we're up to 48 this year. And this is the great work done by what I think is a joint venture between Cafe Von Solen and the Press Room. And we spent time curating and then painting the barriers, so to give them a uniform look. And I know that there will be more to come in the way of artwork on the inside of the barriers. And I think the thing that's really brought the community together most recently is the fact that we engaged the CTE students at the high school to build the wooden planters that will adorn the barriers, not this coming week, but the week after, when plants can be out and about. So these are two students that got together, coordinated with what was the Citizen Response Task Force, now the Blue Ribbon Committee on Reopening Portsmouth. There will be 42 of these placed all over the place. You'll see them. And then we've got Eco Club students who are willing to do the planting. It's just been a wonderful community effort. What a great opportunity for everybody to jump and identify a need and work to fill it. And the only other thing I wanted to talk about, because it'll come up later, is that to support the outdoor dining effort, we have given up 81 parking spaces. And I think speaking to the policy of moving forward, that's an important number. We're proud of that. And I think there's tons of support to continue to do the outdoor dining in some fashion. Next slide, please. So in conjunction with the State Small Business Development Corp, UNH, and the Chamber all engaged in a workforce study. The survey was sent out to folks in February, so it's interesting to see if they were to do it again now, if the mood and the tenor of things would change. But as you can imagine, of concern to the city would be what is of concern to small businesses. And what's pretty amazing throughout all of this, and hopefully you all have come to realize this in your own walks of life and in your own way, that there really is the business resilience in the face of so many pandemic challenges. And while 37% felt worse off back in February before the American Rescue Plan funds and before accelerated vaccinations, it would be really great to know how people feel now. And the only takeaway from this slide is the only indicator that appears to be heading in the wrong direction is that second to last one that says unable to get sufficient workforce to maintain operations. And that really echoes what Ken was saying. People are really struggling to find workforce. Before I jump to the next slide, I'd just like to mention the importance of the city's Economic Development Commission and the role that they'd like to play in helping move the needle more positively in all the areas presented by the survey and in more specific areas for Portsmouth. Next slide, please. So as mentioned earlier, we're really proud of our AAA bond rating. It allows for the most successful sale of municipal bonds and preferential interest rates. It has saved the taxpayers millions over the 9 years we've held that AAA status. We're also an eco-municipality. We've enjoyed more than 20 years as a tree city. We're a 3-time winner of the Tree Growth Award. We're really such a comprehensively developed and maintained city. It's just wonderful. As the mayor mentioned, the budget was conservative last year. We are trying to maintain the line between staying conservative and restoring some of the longer term capital needs of the city, and we're going through that process right now. Next slide, Ben. So one of the key components to a healthy community is what we have for resources, both physical and natural. And many of these groups either started or took hold in 2020. Many born out of the need for PFAS mitigation. The Safe Water Advisory Group was newly formed in 2020 and started meeting. The Pease Water Treatment Facility opened in May, and this is the top right picture you see. Our staff member Al Pratt is explaining to Senators Shaheen and Hassan and Congressman Pappas how this all works. And we're really proud of that effort. The work you see there was funded by the Air Force and coordinated with our city staff, who are among the most talented in this field in the country. We have staff that are national resources in this field, and we're super proud. We completed and approved both the city's involvement in the Great Bay Total Nitrogen Permit and signed an intermunicipal agreement with these communities, plus the communities of, the communities you see here, which is great. We're working together in support of this important and long-term effort. And this spring, we've enjoyed the substantial completion of the $92 million Pierce Island wastewater treatment plant. And something that's not on the slide, but we talked about it yesterday at a meeting, is how key it is to protecting our source water, which the bulk of it comes from the Bellamy Reservoir up in Madbury. The city's been wonderful at purchasing land around that resource so as to preserve it. And we were lucky to purchase and close on this spring 107 acres of conservation land immediately adjacent to that reservoir. And we're almost fully connected in terms of the complete preservation of that water body, which is just a wonderful and smart thing to do. Next slide, please. Everyone's favorite topic, besides the pandemic, would be parking. And we've seen, I have a couple of parking stats because I, for one, and I think others are pretty interested in how the health of the city is doing vis-a-vis our parking. You will recall we had a budget of 9 million. We reduced that based on the effects of the pandemic down to 7.2 million for the year. We are on pace. I'm sorry, we revised our budget down to 5 million, and we're on pace to receive 7.2 million. We're proud of that fact. We're also proud that people are taking advantage of the many offerings within our parking, the parking products that are offered. The Foundry Garage is above budget by 5%. The Hanover Garage is above budget by 13%. And a note here is that the Hanover Garage will start this fall to be closed a third of the garage at a time for renovations. And a big stat, which is worth noting, is that on-street and surface parking lots are above budget by 51%. And due to the recently enacted stay and pay procedure, we are seeing a 35% increase in revenue per transaction. And our Park Mobile app usage continues to climb. It is now 17% of our meter transactions, but 20% of our meter revenues, which shows that people are staying longer when they have the convenience of using that app to extend their parking. So in addition to all the parking technology, we are working on infrastructure in our gateway areas of Islington Street, as you all must know, on Maplewood Avenue, on Market Street, and on Middle Street. And we will have long-term planning for electric vehicles. That's been a hot topic of late, and we'll look forward to continuing that conversation in and among the city's resources. Thanks, Ben. Next slide. So in and amongst the pandemic, we did have the ability to complete some fun projects and get some off the ground. First, you'll see the ribbon cutting for the Senior Activity Center that was held back in November. That building has seen so many different uses that we could never have anticipated. It was actually wonderful to open a building in a pandemic that could pivot and serve so many uses. It served as the Ward 3 polling place. It has served as a stand-up vaccination site, not only for the fire department here, but for the Veterans Administration. It's really been a city and a regional resource we're proud to share. On the far right would be the installation of the Odyssey sculpture in the formal gardens of Prescott Park. And I know that there is a more formal reception plan for later this year. And in the middle is our beloved fish sculpture, which is coming soon to the McEachern Park on the North Mill Pond. The only other coming up attraction I would highlight coming up soon would be the opening of our brand new turf field out in the community campus area on Campus Drive. And we'll look forward to that in the next month or so. Next slide, Ben. The two big ongoing projects that you're all very familiar with by now would be the McIntyre project and the intensive Portsmouth Listens process that we went through this winter and is wrapping up shortly. Monday night, the council voted 8-1 to advance the preferred design concept to the developer, and we're going to speak to the federal government about that later this week. And in terms of Prescott Park Master Plan implementation, we are moving forward with some of the key enabling infrastructure, including seawall repair, drainage work, electrical work. And our plans also include the relocation of the maintenance storage along Water Street to a renovated city-owned building on Mechanic Street. Next slide, please. I couldn't end my presentation without thanking Valerie Rochon for everything she's done to welcome me to the city and everything she's done to buoy the spirits of so many. I think one of the things I was most proud about was that the chamber in this time under Valerie's leadership chose to help everybody, not just chamber members. That did not go unnoticed, and it bears repeating. And while it was certainly bittersweet to have come To grips with the notion that Valerie would retire, I was extremely humbled and proud to be part of the search process to identify her successor. And to that, I would say a hearty congratulations to Ben, and we look forward to working with you. So I would ask for the last slide, which is really to say, we hope it's going to be a wonderful summer. I'm pleased to state unequivocally that the state of the city is strong and it will remain strong. And I'm really proud to be here and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Karen. It just shocked me there, seeing my face come up on the screen. That was lovely. Thank you very much, and a surprise. And yes, we are very excited that Ben is going to take over for me. He starts on June 1st as the next president, and I'll be here until the 17th as the outgoing president. So, Karen, I'm exhausted just listening to you about all of the good work that the city has done, and talk about stepping up to the plate. You know, the city won our Pandemic Powerhouse Award for Streamlife, our virtual Street Life, Stream Life this past year, and there's a reason for that. And you just saw all of that, why that is so. So thank you very much for that. So I know that we're looking for some questions from anybody. Usually we have a ton of questions. One of the things that I didn't know, Karen, was that the city manager, the city council I didn't watch the council meeting on Monday night. The city council did approve the latest plan for the McIntyre. So the next step is to go to the federal government. And can you just elaborate on that just a little bit and explain that to us?
And to a fair extent, and it still remains in the purview of the McIntyre subcommittee of the council. So in a dual track, we will share with the General Services Administration that still owns the building and the National Park Service, who would be our permitting authority, what the preferred design concept means. And concurrently, we will need to approach the development team of Redgate Kane and share with them, although I'm sure they've been following along behind the scenes, to get their feedback and to understand how we can best work together to meld what their vision was with the vision that really came from a community effort.
Valerie, I have a question for Karen. One of the things, as you hear about the new administration's kind of plans economically, and you think about the potential impact in the Portsmouth marketplace, any things that you would say that as you think about them, things that you think will be good, things that might be challenges? I know it's still a little bit early and none of these have been officially approved, but just curious as to your thought process as these things start to unfold.
Yeah, we're being very cautious to speak to what we would do with the largesse that will fall upon us. I mean, $12.88 million is unbelievable. We could spend it in so many different ways, and it could go to so many things, and it could go so quickly. I've been hesitant to get out over my skis. I've learned that term since I've been here, to not commit to something that may not fit the criteria. So we have some staff here that are pouring through the guidelines. We're lucky to have in-house counsel. They're reading through the 151 pages of guidance. To me, 151 pages is more than guidance, but we're working our way through that. So the large themes could be legacy projects, really things that we would want to do if we only had the money. And then there are other things that we would want to do that speak to both the quality of life for residents and the quality of life for tourists and visitors, because that makes up so much of our vibrant economy. We would love to help on an ongoing basis in the economic recovery. So what does that mean? Do we speak to grants for small businesses? Do we further identify what those needs are, both short, medium, and longer term? And we could also consider as eligible uses of the funds, direct assistance to social service agencies, many of whom are getting their own direct assistance, but do we play a role in that as well? We could serve so many people with this. The question is, what are the priorities? And largely, you know, the city manager and the staff are the implementers, and then the city council are the policy makers. So we will work in close coordination. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think the only concern I've seen historically is too many programs get started that may not have sustainable funding in year 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's candidly where I've seen a lot of the challenge. They may be a great program, but on the ongoing, as you go out of years, it's tough to fund them unless the economy does grow at the levels. But it's on, it's going to be a challenge, but a good challenge. It's a good opportunity.
A great challenge, right? Thank you.
We did have one question from the chat from Russ again, basically asking about staff morale. Following an incredibly challenging year, how is staff morale? Are there any specific actions you've taken to build teamwork and improve morale during a difficult time?
That was a great question. And I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that question. I think it would be great to get some feedback from the department heads. I've said it before, I knew coming in that there were rave reviews about the professional level of expertise in-house at City Hall. They're beyond what I had anticipated. I've worked in several different places and seen varying degrees of expertise and talent in-house. And I've never seen anything like Portsmouth's staffing across departments. And I'm told that people in other communities in New Hampshire and along with the state folks in New Hampshire look to Portsmouth for how they do things, whether it's at the macro or the micro level. And so my job, in addition to sharing thoughts with folks like you, is really to take care of the staff. And it's been a journey to figure out who needs what and what's the best way to support different groups. I've asked folks to let me know what they need. I've also reached out to them. It's hard with limited resources to do what I would do and really check in on their well-being. But that is pivotal. And now we're getting to the point where people can actually take vacation and enjoy some time off. So taking care of folks is my main concern. And I hope we've done a good job with that. And I've tried to give the department heads a lot of latitude for how best to do what they do within their departments. Many people have worked remotely. Some may continue to have a hybrid model of working remotely and coming into the office. And the challenge for the department heads is to figure out how to adequately staff that so things are seamless for the customer or the taxpayer. And so always working to improve that and keep open those lines of communication. I also like writing notes a lot. So there's been some note writing, and for the budget last week, I sent some fun surprises around to the department heads to kind of rally the troops. So it's a combination of things.
Thank you, and I can echo that working with your department heads and all of your folks has been such a pleasure, always, but certainly in the last year, because talk about rising up and above.
Right.
You know, when we in the task force, when we would look at, okay, the next restaurant is approved and the barriers should go down, sometimes before the end of the day, but certainly before the next morning, the barriers went down last year so that the restaurants could get out in the street. We were just, right. I would be blown away driving in the morning. So
I have something I'd like to mention that I don't think many people know. One of the first things I realized that was so key to this job and something that John Bohanko did was to be involved in every final interview and to be in every evaluation where an employee is removed from probation, moves on to permanent employee status. And some days that can take up a decent chunk of the day, but it allows me to meet everybody. COVID has put a little bit of a crimp in that, but meet them, understand them, put a name to a face. Just the other day, we spoke about a gentleman who is about to come off probation, and he's a trash hauler. He joined the city. He doesn't want to drive the trash truck. He wants to stand on the back and jump off. And the thing about this gentleman is he's got a smile on his face. He always gets compliments. And so for me to hear that, it reinvigorates me and makes me proud to know that people with this caliber of integrity and you know, these are things you can't teach people. But if we've got someone like that out there, that makes me proud. So that's a big part of every day.
I'm going to be watching for him when I'm stuck behind those trucks in the morning coming in. Thank you. Ben, I see another question perhaps.
Just a message from Nancy Clayberg. Thanks, Karen, for being such a strong leader for our city. Any ideas on how we can encourage people to get vaccinated?
That's a great question, and that's part of the messaging we will continue to work on. I think Nancy should hold a vaccination clinic in her driveway because, you know, there's been a lot of activity in the Clayberg driveway. I'm being silly. We've got to be careful with the messaging. There are people for whom vaccination is not perhaps not a medically appropriate option, or it's a belief matter. But if people ask what is the best way to prevent the spread of this disease, of the virus, the best way is to get vaccinated, and we can't stress that enough. But we're dancing around the delicate situation of how do you find out if someone's vaccinated? You can't really ask them. You can just promote that being vaccinated is the best way to stay healthy, and we have to be careful. The messaging will have to be sensitive and thoughtful in that regard. The city's public information officer, Stephanie Secord, is absolutely phenomenal, and it's nice to be at the point where we're talking about messaging the benefits of vaccination, and we'll continue to do that.
Thank you. I have another question going back to the Prescott Park master plan, which is so exciting. Can you give us a little bit of the timeline? You're talking about the infrastructure now. Is there a time that we're going to lose the Prescott Park during the key summer time, or is a lot of the work going to be done in the shoulder seasons, or can you just sort of give us that forward? Thank you.
That's Steve, right. The sensitivity for sure is, boy, they had no season last year. They're going to have a truncated season this year. I'm certainly by no means the in-house expert on this topic. I know that Peter Rice and the Master Plan Implementation Committee have done all the work. So the thought process will be to do as much off-season as we can. And some of the work has been delayed, I wouldn't say due to COVID, just due to competing priorities. So if there's a way to, what we're always keeping in mind is staying out of people's way, doing some of the less sexy work involved with infrastructure in the fringes, and tackling the hard work in the off season. I'm hesitant to speak to timing because of the timing of the money that's involved, but stay tuned for that. We'll engage the public more on that this summer.
Awesome. I'm very excited about the wonderful, particularly the boardwalk that goes out over the water. That just looks amazing. So very excited about that. Do we have any other questions?
We do not.
Like it?
Nope.
Nope. All right. Well, City Manager, is there anything that you'd like to wrap up with? And we know that you have a busy day as well. So we'll do a wrap up and some thank yous, and I'll let you finish first.
I just want to say, for those of you I haven't met, the door is open here. Love to get out and about and meet people. I was on a great clip doing that right before COVID hit, and I'd like to resume that. So please reach out. Thanks, Valerie.
Thank you so much, Karen. As I said, you have a busy day. Every day is a busy day, and we're so glad that you took the time to be with us today. Thank you so much. We have quite a number of people who are on the call today, and I appreciate your time as well for coming and joining us. It is so important to hear from the city every year when we hear from the mayor and we hear from the city manager and all the good things that are going on, and it gives us some idea of what's actually happening behind the scenes in the city that we don't always see. So thank you so much for making the time to do that. I appreciate everybody being here, and I thank you, and I think that you should get outside because it looks like an absolutely gorgeous day. You know, I come from ski country, and Burton Snowboards was in town, and the rule was any day that it snowed more than 2 feet of powder was just go to the mountain, don't go to work. And I'm thinking we need to institute that here. So any day that's over 80 degrees, get outside, just go for a walk. Have a great rest of the week, and see you all soon, I hope. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.